I'm in Kinston, North Carolina, so I'm the Mother Earth Brewing Ironclad Half Marathon and 5K. So those would probably be the three things that I would mention as being maybe some of the key things that made us successful.
Did you use medals?
Do we use medals? Yes, we give medals. We give medals, and the last event that we did, we also did glasses, pint glasses. Sure, Maxwell Metals is who I use. Yes, I've used different companies, but I landed on this company, and I've really enjoyed working with them. They've been super duper easy. Excuse me?
You ordered it?
No, I tried to do local. We actually had contacted, that was kind of one of our things of our race, is we like to kind of keep everything as local as we can. And we had talked to the community college about making medals and stuff like that, but no one was able to create what we needed. So that's one of the things that we have to do outside of our community.
You do a custom medal?
Yes. Every year our medal's different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you have them like custom, like?
Yeah. So our medals usually align with our shirt design. So every year we have a different shirt design. Every year we have a medal that's different. And that's, for me as a runner, no one wants to, if you want your people to come back and run your event, no one wants to get the same shirt for 5 years in a row. So I would really, that's one thing that I'm strong about. I'm a short shirt person. My partner that I do the race with, she's a medal girl. So we're a good combo. So, but yeah, definitely I would say change up your graphics on your shirt, change up your medals, keep it exciting. Oh gosh, I have that on my phone. If you meet with me afterwards, I can pull up some numbers and give you an idea. But if I were to guess, I mean, this is just like a guess in my head. I'm going to say maybe I spend, I'm just going to throw out $5.
On a medal? From Maxwell?
4 to 5.
It all comes down to quantity on metals. Yeah.
So everybody gets a medal?
Everybody gets a medal if you finish.
So for our virtual participants, I think you missed the first few minutes. We're in our panel, we're talking about keys to success, and Amy's been talking about the price point, the lower price point, and the swag that they use at Ironclad.
Well, you can always get something cheaper if you go online, but so first year I did online, got really, price point was excellent, if you're looking for the price point, but I'm looking for something different. I'm looking, as far as my event, I'm looking for trying to keep, one, I want quality. Two, I want to support my community. So I spend more money on shirts than what I probably could, but my point is I want to support my community. So I do everything local. Everything I can do local, I do local. So your question was my price point. Is that what you said? So I use Magic Mile screen printing, and he also helps me with my designs. And I would recommend him to anyone. He is excellent.
He does ours too.
Yes, and he is he's just so easy to work with. I mean, like when I go in, I'll go in and I'll meet with him. I have screenshots of kind of what my image is. Sometimes I've gone in with, like, I do not do art, but I'll go in with some real amateur looking sketches, and I'll be like, okay, this is what I have in my head. This is what I want. And then we sat down for 30 minutes, and then bam, he produces what I want. And between his, creative side and mine, we work really well together. So Yes, it is. It's Magic Mile Screen Printing, and his name is Brandon Potter.
And I will jump in here too and say, we also can provide event shirts and medals and all that stuff too. So if you're already working with us and you want to keep everything in one place, we can definitely help with that stuff as well. So I guess my next question would be, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced in managing your events?
You have any challenges?
I think, well, this is a challenge and a benefit is technology. If Wi-Fi goes down and you're in the middle of a registration, or we dealt with that this year, just that the hotspot was too far away from our tablets, but we managed to work it out. But a benefit is we don't have any of those papers anymore, and we're not running them to the truck every 5 minutes. So that's a big deal. The challenges are things that are unpredictable. They're things that you can't be prepared for. So you just have to, okay, you're brought a challenge. You have to think about it. Don't just automatically come with an answer. Give yourself a few minutes before trying to solve it, to make sure that you're doing right by the race, by the runner. Yeah.
I have to piggyback on that. Yeah, she's so right. Challenges are not things that you are planning on or expecting by any means. I think my biggest challenge as a race director is actually something that Jamie does a great job helping me with. I'm just not really a tech savvy person, and so Jamie bails me out quite a bit when I'm like, how do I do this on Run Sign Up? I would say my biggest challenge would probably be just as a race director, kind of working through and using, because Run Sign Up is it is a great app, and it is really helpful for a helpful tool for us race directors. But I just need to learn how to use it better.
Yeah.
So maybe a course on that, Jamie.
Yeah. Once you get the hang of some of those things, you're like, man, why did I not use this the whole time?
There's a lot of things within that that you can use, and it has to all make sense. And I think
and sitting in on their webinars is super helpful. Even if you, let's say there's a webinar scheduled for tomorrow that you can't make, if you sign up for it, they'll send you the slides and the video, and you can go back and rewatch it. I just sat in one this week because they're coming out with all this new stuff on Run Sign Up, and it's super helpful.
And if you're not already signed up for their email newsletter, you should sign up for that, because then you'll get notified of webinars coming out, new products, new capabilities, that type of stuff. We will pass along some of the bigger items, but I get multiple emails from them just about, it seems, every week with either a new feature, an upcoming webinar, something like that. So it's definitely worthwhile to sign up for that too. Yeah, it's I believe right now at this time it's just specific to timing companies. So they have certification on their different products, including the platform as well as the timing side of things. But right now, I think it's just for timing companies that they do the certifications. But they do, as Marissa was saying, they have a lot of really great webinars, recorded stuff. Yep. Well, it's either you can do just some of their like run sign up 101, 201, like, just introductory stuff, as well as specific topical stuff. All right. So what keys of advice would you have for the other race directors in the room? Any words of wisdom to pass along?
I think one of my biggest things was start small. Like, you don't have to have all the bells and whistles your first year. You want to build a good foundation. You want to, like, we started with a 5K, and now we have a 5K and a kids dash. Now we have a 5K, a 10K, and a kids dash. And every year I just upgrade things or I add new pieces. So really setting that foundation and building upon that, because if you go in full throttle, it's going to be either disorganized or something's going to mess up. But if you start with a good foundation and build upon that, it'll get better and better every year. And then your racers will come back and say, oh, this wasn't here last year. This is really cool. Oh, they got new signage. And it's really good, or so on and so forth. But, starting small and building upon that, I think is a good one.
That's exactly what our philosophy is. I mean, I told someone earlier that our first race started off with just 100 people. And each year we grew it a little bit, but capped it. And we still cap it to this day because our overall goal is not to be a mega race. I want to kind of keep my race numbers at a place where I can interact with my runners. I want to build those relationships with my runners. And that's more important to me than having more people come. So I can, with what I've got going on currently, I can meet my goal of putting on an event. I can meet my goal as far as raising money for my community. And it also keeps the numbers where I can build those relationships with the people that run our event.
And for Amy, how much, if you give a general number, did you spend on marketing for your first year as opposed to like?
Okay. It's changed over the years. It's changed again this year. No money, marketing year one. I don't think we had any money that year. Then we had a grant that we had access to that in years later to come that we had access to that helped with marketing. That grant's no longer available. So this year will be a little different story. And so I'm not really sure. I've got some ideas of what I want to do, but I'm not really sure what that's going to look like this year with that grant money not being available.
So no money the first year, you had 100 races. So just word of mouth.
Word of mouth. But you have to keep in mind that everybody that is on my race board, every single one of us are runners. Every single one of us run events. Every single one of us has running friends, not only within our community and other communities. I mean, next 2 weekends from now, I'm going to the Outer Banks to go run a private event from a guy that ran my race the very first year and won. So, it's building those relationships with people.
So race board.
Do you have a budget amount? Do you have an average amount that you spend over the years?
Like what I think the race will cost me.
As far as your
Yeah. Oh, marketing.
Yeah.
Well, in years past, I had a grant, so the grant was like $5,000. So I would use that $5,000 to market it. Don't have an idea of what that budget's going to look like yet for this year. This year is kind of, this year's an odd year because we're coming back from a year where we had to, we had it on and then we had to go virtual and then we were all completely canceled last year and then we're back. So this is kind of like a rebuild year, I see it as.
And this race board, what is this race board?
The Ironclad Races, like the group of us that put this event on. It's 4 of us, we're all runners. And
You two are your boys.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the people that put it on. Yeah, we're all runners. So, and I think that helps with creating an event because you yourself are also running other events. When you run an event, what you like, what you don't like. So I think it's helpful. I'm not saying that everybody has to be a runner on your board by any means, because you need people that have those marketing skills. You need to have people that have the computer skills. You need to have people that have those different skills that you need in order to make your event successful.
And I'm not a rock. Sorry, go ahead.
Is there a specific responsibility that each party take on?
Pretty much, yes. So I'm the race director. I do a lot of the bulk of like, all the marketing I do, all the shirt designs, all the medal designs, all that I do. I do all the paperwork with the city. I do all that. And I've got another person that does more of my financials, bookkeeping. And then I've got another person that does like my volunteer type stuff, helps me with all my police coverage and all that. And then I have a fourth person that kind of just helps. I'll plug them in wherever I feel like we can, use their skills. They were my computer person, but now I've got another.
And if I can piggyback on this discussion about like a race planning committee, it's definitely advantageous when you're starting an event to have at least a small committee. And if at all possible, at least one of them really should be a runner. Because if, everybody, like Amy said, the whole team doesn't have to be, but a team of people who doesn't know about races trying to plan a race, it's just simply not going to be as effective as if at least one person on that team can give the perspective of what other races do, what they like to see at other races, things like that. So I would definitely suggest that. So I just have a couple other questions here, more specific to each race. So I'll start with Marissa. With your race being a turkey trot, one of the big things with turkey trots is that people a lot of times come year after year out of a tradition and things like that. So I'm curious, have you specifically done things to try to build this sense of tradition at the race?
So I think we automatically fall into tradition because it's a holiday. And so generally families have found that, this is what we do Thanksgiving morning. This is what we do every Thanksgiving morning. We have families who travel. So this year they're here and then next year they're not. But with the virtual piece now, wherever they are, they can do it because we have added that virtual piece that they can still do it. Because I'll have a lot of them who ask me for the shirt. They're like, hey, I just want to get the shirt because we're not going to be here this year. Well, you could sign up for the virtual and now you can get the shirt, because that's one of the big takeaways from our races. We do long sleeve shirts every year and they love them. We also make sure that we are hitting all of the age groups. So there's something for everybody from a child to a senior. We have some 80 and 90-year-olds who walk our 5K. And like, that's super cool because they're also walking with their great grandchildren. So it makes it a tradition. We have the Kids Dash, which is, a short little run, and we split it. The younger kids go first, and then we have our older kids. And a lot of our elementary kids now who are starting to run for track are running in the race with their parents now. Or we have an option for strollers and dogs. And so we try to include everybody in the family, which makes it more of a traditional piece.
And that was going to be my other thing I was going to mention with Marissa's race was this, they offer a good variety, different event types and distances, and as she was saying, that really helps to appeal, to a large group, especially if on Thanksgiving morning, everybody in the family can come out and participate. It's not as if, it's only for the person who's a diehard runner in the family, but there's a piece for everybody. And so I think that's another thing they've done really well, is with this variety, making it so there's something for everybody to participate in. So.
Lisa, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
You said you have the run your dogs.
Mhm.
Do you have to go for that?
So yes, we set up a staging area, and we have large signs, and we have volunteers who stage it out. And so we do our Ainsley's Angels go first. We give them a couple minutes start, and then we have timed runners. We have timed dog jog and strollers, and then all of our untimed is all behind that. Because we did find one year we just put all the timed people together, and leashes and dogs were getting caught under other runners who are trying to get through. And so we really try and spread out that staging area so that they're not mixed in with those.
Do you give them the option ahead of time to decide whether they want to run for time versus not?
Correct. And really, it's not a difference in price for them. It's a difference in what I paid. So, yeah.
The question is
do.
about sponsors.
We do. So I have my hands in that a little bit, but our financial development directors handle that, but they go out and we talk to sponsors, and really our chunk of money that we make is sponsorship.
So can you give us any ideas about that? How they go out or when they go?
So I can give you the information for our financial development directors to reach out to them. They are fantastic. They just go out and talk to businesses. They make appointments and they just go out and talk to them. And make sure they have all the key takeaways of what the money goes back into. So for our race, our money, we're a nonprofit. So the money doesn't go back into the Y, it goes back into the community to help with swim lessons and after school and summer camp and memberships and, you know, getting senior into the building so that they have somewhere to go because they're home by themselves all day. So, you know, that money goes back to them to pay for those things.
I do sponsorship for our event, and yeah, it's doing the better job that we, you know, no one on your board wants to do, but someone's got to do it. And so it's just making those contacts, reaching out to people, asking them. I will say, you know, this year, you know, with COVID, I mean, people are still recovering from that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it kind of rolls out.
People are still wanting to give though.
Yeah.
We have found, we had some drop off with COVID, but we still have found that a lot of businesses, you know, even more so want to make sure, even if it's less money than what they give before, are still giving to the community so that it's giving the community something to do.
Do you have a tier system of rewards or for your different sponsorship levels? What are some things that sponsors like?
Well, I mean, I think it's a give and take. You know, you've got to give them something for what they're giving you. So it's looking at what can you give them, and you know, of course, you know, shirt, including them on your radio ads, putting them, if you have a printed book, put them on the printed book. If you have a banner at the event, putting their logo there. If it's they represent a mile marker, you know, wherever you can get their name out and being seen and heard.
It's the marketing piece for
And-
them.
and
You're
make-
a marketer for them.
And make sure you're utilizing the online tools as well, like sponsors on your Run Sign Up Race page, you know, giving the ability of sponsors to send offers out to the runners, that kind of stuff, because, you know, the sign on this course is going to be seen by those runners as they run by that one time. But that logo on the website is something people see every time they go to the website, and it gives you something you can go back to a sponsor and say your logo was viewed X times during the course of the race. And so it gives you something tangible for a sponsor setting up a customized offer that you can send out to runners. You can send out a specific sponsor email to sell sponsors. There's a lot of digital tools available too that don't cost anything to use, just give you one more, you know, other thing you can use to add value.
James, just to clarify, you were saying to connect our sponsors to our sign up page?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. When you go into your Run Sign Up page, there's a whole sponsor platform where you can manage sponsors, levels, whether they paid or not, all that stuff. What's that? Okay. Sounds good.
Can you share the dollar amount that's required for each year that you guys are doing? For our race, I feel like some of our lower top where we was. We had we started at 100 and then we went up to 1,000.
I would say that's depending on the event size and the market size, that's pretty typical. That I would say between 1,000 and 2,000 is typical of most events. When you get into bigger events and bigger markets, they can start, I don't want to say demanding more, but they can get more. I would say that 1,000 or 100 to 2,000 is pretty much ballpark for most of what I see.
Yeah, because we're larger. Our title sponsor is 6,000, and we go down to 1,800. We don't have any of the 100 marks anymore.
And
Mhm.
and I would say, the more you can sell fewer, bigger sponsorships, the better off you are, because it's less work on your part and the sponsors get more value out of it.
Yeah, I would limit your sponsors.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, you want more because you want more money, but what's that saying to the sponsor? You're not valuing their dollar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Somebody online asked what was the question. We're talking about sponsor levels. Question for Amy about your race is your race typically sells out every year. Why do you think that is? What do you think you've done to get to that point?
I feel like I'm gonna repeat myself a little bit, but I really feel like a big part of what helped that is my relationship with people. On the first couple years, when I was not originally a race director for this event, I would spend the whole morning talking to people. Thank you for coming. What did you like? What did you not like? I took notes. I had a guy the following year come up to me and he goes, "Wow, you took my feedback and did exactly what I asked you to do." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What did you tell me to do?" And he was like, you put the ironclad on the shirt more, had more of a, more of a presence on the shirt." I was like, "Oh, yeah, you were the guy that was sitting at the picnic table." I was able to exactly remember my conversation with him. And, he loved that. People like to be heard. People like to know that they're being heard. So that's what I do. And as a race director, now I'm down on the track, and I don't get that as much, but I have other people doing that for me. And not only am I asking people, have people out there running around, talking to people, but I am talking to my people at the aid stations. What went well? What didn't go well? What did you see? What happened? So every year we take those things and say, okay, what can we do to address this? Is this something that I can do different with?
And piggyback off Amy, I stand at the finish line when a good chunk of the runners are coming across, and I just talk to them, ask them how it went, ask them if they're okay, how they're doing, if they need anything, and just getting feedback from them. Then when they cross the finish line has been super helpful.
I would say, having been at Amy's race for the past several years, working, one of the things I see about that race, I think is key to their success, is that they have done a phenomenal job of prioritizing runner experience. As Amy said a few minutes ago, they could get away with charging more, but they haven't. They could do a cheaper shirt, they could do a cheaper medal, but they've made the conscious choice, to be willing to spend a little bit of extra money and do a few extra things to prioritize the runner's experience. And that's something that I think, going back to something I said earlier, if a race is being planned by all non-runners, it's easy to only pay attention to how much money can we make off of this, how much can we get away with, things like that, as opposed to thinking, all right, if we really want the runners to have a great experience and enjoy this, what steps we're going to take to do that.
And I think sometimes it may be that it's a cost to you. That's I've hired the slush people to come, and I pay for everybody free slushy. Anything, and it's not just for the runners. That was for the families, for everybody to just come. So, our beer, anybody. It's not just for the runners. So, we try to make it, I guess, a good experience. I guess I don't know how to.
And spend spend the money where your participants see it.
Like a common thing I get asked is, should we offer cash prizes to draw more people in? And I would say no, because that's going to appeal to a very small number of people. You should instead take the money and get a better quality t-shirt, a better, do finisher medals, spend the money somewhere where everybody's going to see it and not just a small percentage. Do you have a question?
Yeah,
So the question was about timing charges. For a race like hers, we're charging a timing fee for the people that are timed, but the untimed people, we're just giving them like an untimed bib, so they're saving a little bit of cost on that. As far as our specific cost for timing, let me follow up with you on that afterwards, because it's going to depend on the nature of the event, specifics, that type of stuff.
We do not, we only do place medals.
and so between the two of you, is there a significant, is it worth it to be professional?
I think it depends on your race, and I think it depends on how many participants you have, and how many participants you have now.
So 1,000, but I mean, I think, like I said earlier, you have your shirt people and you have your medal people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if you don't have medals, then your medal people are out. If you don't have shirts, your shirt people are out. So
We did a survey and we asked people, and it was pretty close. It was pretty darn close to 50-50.
yeah, I did
But
once
it-
recently
yeah,
on
it was
on
like
our social
60-40
media. I'm like,
maybe or
okay, the
something.
shirts get ready to come out. Who are the
Yeah.
shirt people? Who are the medal people?
Yeah, it's pretty even split.
Now for Kids Dash, we give all 12 and under who run the Kids Dash, they all get finisher medals and shirts.
You ever tried having it selectable when you register, whether you get a medal?
So the question is allowing people to select. I'll say yes, we have a race next weekend where we offer different tiers. So for the base tier, you get a finisher medal, and then you can pay extra to get your shirt. And that's the way we've done it for a few years now to appeal to both crowds, and it seems to go over pretty well.
I was thinking about, age bracket awards. I think I can touch on that, about having. One thing that I'm curious. So, what do you see during your race is that people who different age brackets, what do they mess like? Do they want medal? Do they want maybe like back gift cards or things like that? What's your experience?
This question is about age group awards and things that people
Well, what we've done, and so it's changed this year, is our event this year, in years past, we had Linux China that was one of our sponsors. So our age group awards were China with platinum label on it, with our race label on it, and their age and all that. Sadly, Linux is no longer open, and so we don't have that. So everything is changing for us this year. So this year, our age award will be and crafted pottery that we have a potter making, and we're having big mugs made with our label on it. And it says age group. Like I had a custom stamp made for the mug that says age group award.
I'll say this is another area where you get different opinions. Like we've had races where we give out like gift cards to local running stores. And I've still gotten people complain why they didn't get a medal and stuff. So, I mean, there are different philosophies on that. I'm of the opinion, kind of like what Amy's talking about, the creative stuff. I've got from my racing days, I've got, tons of these generic looking medals and trophies. But the things that I keep and have hung up on my wall are like the unique stuff that's different than what every other race was doing. Because I mean, if you're, especially to somebody who's running races, I mean, there was an era where I was running races, every other weekend. And so collecting a bunch of these kind of generic things that, but it's the unique things that tend to stand out a little bit more.
My medals are up in my attic, but the thing that I do keep out is I ran the length of Lenore County, and it was 42 miles, and I got a piece of asphalt. It's a big chunk of asphalt, and I love that asphalt more than anything else. And so that's the only thing that I keep out is my chunk of asphalt that's hand painted on it, but to me, that means way more to me than my medals. My medals are up. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Local, specific, that kind of stuff.
Finish your medals. Do you give them out at the end of the actual finish? Or do you give them out if you pay for those that they have for everybody?
So I can speak to what we do for our race next weekend. So the question was about giving out finisher medals. I ordered 500 medals, so I've capped registration at 500. So I won't take more. If we sell out, we sell out. So we won't oversell. Typically, you have about a 10% no-show rate. So you could, technically I could go up to 550 and feel fairly safe about it. If I were a little more risk taker, I could, play with it a little bit more, but that would be my suggestion. If you're going to do finisher medals, you should order based upon anticipated number and then cap it at that.
Yeah, I had two friends that ran, and the girls, it was her first half marathon. They ran a half marathon, they finished, and they didn't have medals. That was not a really good feeling. So basically, I made medals out of paper plates and ribbons from the dollar store. It was like, here you go, So yeah, people plan accordingly.